In the winter of 431 BC, the Athenian statesman Pericles stepped onto a high platform to honor his city's war dead. He delivered an address that celebrated equality and liberty, portraying Athens as a model for the entire Greek world. Pericles stood in the Kerameikos, the city's public cemetery, where his words reached across the graves to a massive assembled crowd. Today, we point to moments like this to crown Athens as the cradle of modern democracy, the place where citizens first took the reins of the state. But the actual demographics of that crowd tell a different story. This diagram illustrates a cross-section of 100 people living in Athenian territory at the time. Of those 100 people, a maximum of 30 were legally allowed to participate in government. This minority consisted exclusively of adult, free, male citizens of Athens and the surrounding territory of Attica. The remaining 70 people were entirely locked out of the political process. This majority was comprised of 3 distinct groups who lived and worked in the city but lacked any vote or political voice. The invention of rule by the people relied on a legal framework that purposefully excluded the vast majority of the population. The 30% who held power exercised it directly. These men gathered to personally debate and pass legislation and executive bills, rather than electing representatives to make decisions for them. They met on the Pnyx, a massive stone platform carved into a hillside near the Acropolis, which could hold thousands of shouting, debating men at once. This system was the result of a long political evolution, culminating in the reforms of Cleisthenes around 508 BC. Before his intervention, aristocratic families controlled the government by leveraging their immense wealth and local influence. This map of Attica shows how Cleisthenes dismantled that power. He reorganized the citizen body into 10 new groups based entirely on where they lived, mixing city dwellers with coastal and inland farmers, forcing different social classes to govern together. To ensure these new groups shared power equally, the Athenians relied on sortition. This fragment of a claritarion shows the vertical rows of slots used in a mechanical lottery, which randomly assigned eligible men to public offices and juries. By breaking the monopoly of wealthy families and instituting random selection, Athens achieved a remarkable level of equality among its male citizens. But that same rigid structure permanently walled off the remaining 70. Athens was home to a large population of metics, free individuals who migrated from other city-states to live and work in Attica. Metics could not own land or vote, but they dominated trade and manufacturing. They paid special taxes and produced a massive share of the commercial wealth that circulated through the Athenian economy. The second divide was male versus female. Women belonging to citizen households were legally classified under the guardianship of their male relatives. Their primary legal function was to produce legitimate male heirs to maintain the exclusive citizen bloodline. As a result, their lives were largely restricted to the domestic sphere, far removed from the assembly floor. The final and most severe binary was free versus slave. Enslaved people made up a massive percentage of the total population, working in every sector from domestic service to the brutal silver mines of Laurion. This labor force was the economic engine of the state. The grueling physical work extracted from enslaved people is what generated the free time male citizens required to spend their days debating on the Pnyx. These groups did not live in segregated isolation, but side by side in a complex daily community. A wealthy citizen, a foreign merchant, and an enslaved worker often shared the same street and marketplace. The artistic, military, and architectural achievements of the Golden Age were the collective product of this entire integrated community. The ideals of this system have survived for over 2 millennia, creating an image of a stable, enduring democracy. In reality, the system was highly fragile. During the extreme stress of the late Peloponnesian War, the democratic system fractured from the inside. Oligarchic factions successfully staged coups and briefly overthrew the democracy in both 411 and 404 BC. While the Athenians managed to restore their system after those internal revolts, they could not survive external conquest. The democracy was suppressed by the Spartans after the Peloponnesian War and ultimately dismantled by the Macedonians in 322 BC. Transporting ourselves back to the Kerameikos to hear Pericles speak, the image of the crowd looks entirely different. The celebrated equality of the Athenian citizen was a closed loop. The freedom of the few was dependent on the physical labor and total political exclusion of the many. Creating a mechanical system to count votes is only one half of a republic. A society's democratic health is ultimately measured by how expansively it defines the people.